phone systems. I don't think we
That proves you have one.
All of the old days.
What the hell was that all about?
That's right, yeah.
Point at South
I
Mountain.
told my son, man,
All memories.
you'll never know what a good day
Never
is.
go back to the day before. That's what I tell everyone. You make good of every day.
Jim, which page they gonna start off with? This one.
Right there.
Oh
I'm not
gosh,
kidding you,
oh,
right
that's
there.
so funny.
Well, here's the packets,
Where's,
Well, it's a good
and
neighborhood.
there's the agenda, so you'll see the number
okay.
Used to stay at
right here, petition 2017-18.
Oh, yeah.
Point at
So
South
then
Mountain, right.
2017-29, you go back to the 18th. That's 17th.
And then we walked to South Mountain.
Okay.
That's the first one, 2017-18.
So what, you came out of
What
it?
are we at there?
Yeah.
2017-30,
Since I saw you,
2017-29, 2017-17,
Swung. I had some swung. They had to do some nerve damage.
2017-18.
Ones for their
So then there's 18,
house and that they've checked out and have deals with.
17,
That swung will go away.
29,
I'll get used to
30.
it
Oh, yeah.
real quick.
I'm sure.
So on this, the 18 is the first one, the 17 is gonna be last,
Northern Scottsdale.
cause that's in the past.
Okay.
these glasses I got don't fit the prescription.
So that's the order.
That eye. We have a power glasses.
Yeah, I had to get
Interesting, very
the
interesting.
eyes
So when
settled
you
down.
Doc said, wait a
Oh,
while.
yeah, periodic.
You gotta wait till the eyes adjust, and then you go up for, I mean,
Well,
it's amazing
Quiet.
probably be with her.
how clear you can
It's been
see.
quiet lately.
That's a- It's like watching
We're
3D.
gonna go through Colorado Springs. And, I'll be gone at least a couple weeks.
Yeah, we won't get that. We were just out there at Easter. We won't get, we aren't going back to October. Those are first couple of
No, we're gonna have some problems on that sign.
It's good to work back with you.
On the council,
The other girl would have wanted it.
may
She
or may
could
not
push, but she didn't push it on.
change the ordinance.
Or you may pull it.
Yeah.
Sign, so that could be
She did not do anything.
The actual house.
And she put
This is the town
1729.
We actually bought it.
where I suspect she might, well, I don't know. I'll have to look it up and see exactly
really
what
went
she
by that
is. Because we don't have apartment 2080. That doesn't even ring a bell with me.
No, she's, it's actually, it's definitely apartments.
Yes, then I don't know exactly where that is because it's not, I'll have to Google it and see exactly where it is compared to ours. We don't have buildings that might request a table like that.
No.
either.
Officially, yeah.
But we are on a golf
This
course.
first one.
It's the Arizona Grand Golf Course, so I.
Oh, there is one, I think.
It's gotta be very
I had
nice.
to stop laughing.
We are right off some.
Yeah.
cracking jokes.
How's he doing?
And her daughter is
And I haven't seen him lately, but
in
heard that he's been,
honest to God.
Well, if you see him, tell him I say hello.
will do.
Miss that guy.
My favorite line is, they say it's a small world, but I hate to have to paint it.
Yeah, good one, Charlie, good one.
I didn't think of that myself.
I would have given you credit for that.
Yeah, it's stupid enough.
How's that grandbaby?
We got another one on the way.
Oh, really?
I do wanna-
Oh, down in Macomb?
Yeah,
Yeah, downstairs, that'll fill
yeah,
you
there are gonna
in.
be 3 of them.
You can do it, that'll to let you know where to go.
Okay.
But they'll give you a City of Joliet zoning board ID.
Mike, you ready? Meeting will please come to order. This is a duly advertised meeting of the Joliet Zoning Board of Appeals. In our capacity, we hear petitions for relief from the strict provisions of the city ordinance. In matters of this type, the decision of this board is final in respect it does not go to the mayor or city council for any further action. If you disagree with our decision, you do have recourse in a court of record. We also hear petitions for variations of land use. In matters of this type, we act as an advisory committee to the mayor and city council, making a recommendation either for or against it. Final decision on land use is made by the mayor and the city council. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Ms. Darley?
Here.
Mr. Ferguson?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here?
Ms. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Riggs?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Hennessy?
Present. Okay, see we have a request to table a petition 2017-28 Do you want to, that's 1301 North Broadway. Is anybody here on that? Request, a motion to table would be in order.
Move to table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table petition 2017-28. Poll the board, please.
Mr. Ferguson.
Aye.
Mr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Riggs.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Ms. Darley.
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy.
Aye. Any other requests?
The other request, Mr. Chair, is item number 6 under new business petition 2017-29. It's not as a request in your packet per se, but there was a late request based on the Land Use and Legislative Committee meeting of City Council on Tuesday that matter be tabled as well. And I'll defer to the zoning board for whether or not that remains on the agenda.
What was the reason wanting it to be tabled, do you know?
The discussion of the council committee, I should say, was that there needs to be additional research from staff into LED signs. And one of the ideas was a possible moratorium before the city council at their next meeting. And therefore, this case, obviously, as you know, came in prior to that discussion. And at this point in time, there is no moratorium. So
So a moratorium may or may not occur. That could be months down the road sometime.
I would defer to the board if they want to leave that on the agenda and consider it, or if they want to honor the request of the council committee.
Well, I've got some opinions on it. As I said, the city council is perfectly within its bounds to consider a moratorium on this, and it may well desire and deserve it. But that is down the road sometime. It may or may not occur. They'll probably have to have some studies on it. In the meantime, we have petitioners here who have met all the requirements under the present ordinance. And I don't see any reason to table this because we're existing under the rules as they are now. Should the city council amend the ordinance and put a moratorium on them, then we will abide by those rules. But in the meantime, I think we should proceed. I'll listen to the opinion of the board.
I have to say I agree with Mr. Hennessy.
Likewise.
Same here.
So a motion, is there any motion to table this? Then let's proceed. Might as soon as we're talking about it, let's hear petition 2017-29.
Do you want to take that out of order? There is a petition 2017-18. Do you want to go on the order of the agenda or take them out of order?
Well, let's take 29 first, as we're on it.
Staff will just summarize the report on that request, and then we'll hear from the petitioner. This is, Mr. Chair and members of the Zoning Board, petition number 2017-29. The applicant is Eddie Hartzell, sign contractor, and the owner of the property is Werner Enterprises Incorporated for the location of 1738 Terminal Court. This is a variation to allow an LED electronic message center sign. The variation to allow the installation of an LED electronic message center sign is on a proposed new monument sign located at 1738 Terminal Court, which is the former Caterpillar facility. The approximate 9-acre property is zoned I-2 General Industrial District. The case was filed on April 12, 2017. Surrounding zoning in all directions is I-2 General Industrial District. Applicable regulations are section 47-17.21 signs. And in this case, the sign ordinance does not allow moving text. So that is why the variation to allow an LED electronic message center sign is being requested. I also point out in the staff report the variation criteria for the standards by which the Zoning Board of Appeals shall base its decision. And then also, there were no comments from the Design Review Board at their May 3rd meeting. There was no discussion concerning this request. But in summary, the approval of the requested variation will allow the LED electronic message center on a new sign that is 9 feet 6 inches high, monument sign located at 1738 Terminal Court. The proposed sign would be located at the northwest corner of the property, which is to the southeast of the intersection of Terminal Court and Reeves Road, which are both private roads. A new Werner Trucking Terminal building is under construction on this parcel, and that historically was the west parking lot of the former Caterpillar plant. The proposed 4-foot 8-inch by 8-foot 1-inch or 38 square foot LED electronic message center will be one-sided and full color. The proposed new sign will comply with the minimum 10-foot setback, required setback nearest the property lines, and there is sufficient landscape area for the sign to comply with the vision triangle requirement for safe sight distance at the intersection. The text on the electronic message center will need to be slow-moving in order not to create a distraction for vehicular traffic in the area. The application states that the new electronic message center will be utilized to announce new events, sales, activities, and the time and temperature. And it's my understanding that also it's to help the truck drivers that are coming into the facility find their way to that building. In conclusion, or I should say the conditions, if desired, the following conditions would be included: that the text will be slow-moving, 1 flip every 10 seconds maximum, and 2, the LED electronic message center shall include a dimming capability, which will be utilized to not produce nighttime glare. And that summarizes staff's report.
Thank you. I swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
Yes.
Name and address, please.
Eddie Hartzell, 3207 Wild Oak Court, Joliet. I think Mike pretty well said everything, and I appreciate you guys hearing this case today. But this sign is going to be used for a directional sign for the truckers coming in and out of this facility, because there'll be several hundred trucks a week. And this is their ID sign and directional sign for the facility. And it's important that they have this. We just did one in San Antonio, Texas, almost the same as this. And this is what they use their sign for. And this sign really can't be seen anywhere from Route 6 or I don't think it can be seen from Route 6 or any main highway.
Okay. And you're aware of the dimming capabilities of this, aren't you?
Yes, we
That's
use
something new
we
have.
use Daktronics, and they dim down to 4% at nighttime.
Okay. Regardless of how this board votes, I'm going to make a comment that on any issue that comes up before this board, it's going to be considered that we have granted the variations or denied it based on the evidence as presented, and that it should be approved that in all of the things heard before this board, that clear and convincing evidence has been established. If there's any arguments against it, they should be stated into the minutes. But let's go with that as an understanding. Are there any questions by the board on this petition?
Is the moratorium because of the LED? Is that what it is? Because isn't my understanding that the city is now switching streetlights to LED lights now, right? So, I mean, LED lights are...
I think it's a matter of aesthetics as well as possibly the brightness issues from some of these signs. Some of the signs, unlike the one that's in this petition that has the dimming capability, I think have actually gone up without the dimming capability. And as you know, the sign ordinance right now currently does not allow any moving text. So whether it's an old technology, light bulb technology, or the newer LED technology, it's the fact that moving text is not permitted under the present sign ordinance. So the ones that have been approved through a variation process.
Will the older signs be grandfathered in, or will they have to adapt to the new ordinance?
Well, that would be, remains to be seen. We would have, staff will be likely putting together some research and giving a menu of options to the city council and letting them direct us as to how they would choose to regulate these. Obviously, they're not permitted right now, so if they choose to regulate them, on one end of the extreme, they could make them a permitted sign subject to regulations and just make them a sign permit. On the other end, they may continue to come before you if there's any desire by a petitioner to do something otherwise. So we might look at the brightness of the signs, we might look at the size of the signs, the scale of the sign relative to the property. Those are all things we would be looking at.
Okay. Any other questions by the board? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the petition. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Graham?
Aye, and I'd like to add that Mr. Hartzell has had more signs here than I could count, and not one of them has ever had to be revisited.
Wonderful.
Thank you. You know, I've been doing business in Joliet for 30 years, and I have never had a violation on anything that we've ever done. We try to follow the city ordinance.
I know you do.
I wish this board could say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Ms. Darley?
Aye.
Mr. Ferguson?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Go back to the regular agenda.
Mr. Chair, the next item on the agenda is under new business, item number 4. This is petition 2017-18, which is a variation of use to allow continuation of a 7-unit and single-family house in an R4 multifamily use in an R2 single-family zoning district, as well as a series of variations to allow 2 primary structures on one lot and on lot area per family from 2,500 square feet reduced to 1,554 square feet, located at 209 through 211 North Center Street. And I will summarize the report. I don't see anybody here to represent the application, but if the board would like to proceed, staff would be able to summarize the report and let you decide.
Proceed on it. Go ahead.
Okay. So this again is a variation of use to allow continuation of a 7-unit apartment building at 209 North Center Street, as well as the single-family house at 211, both on one lot, which is an R4 multifamily residential use in an R2 single-family zoning district, as well as a series of variations to allow 2 primary structures on one lot and on lot area per family being reduced from 2,500 square feet to 1,554 square feet. According to the petitioners and available supervisor of assessments information, the property was constructed with the 7-unit apartment and single-family house in the 1920s. Based on the city zoning map from 1939, the property maintained multiple family residence zoning at that time. It was noted as a multifamily 7 and more family and 2-family use within the existing land use category that was part of the Cathedral Area Preservation Plan from 1975. At that time, the property maintained B1 or neighborhood business zoning, which allowed multiple family uses. In 1998, the property was reclassified from the B1 zoning category to R2 single-family residential category in order to take action against a previous property owner. 2 previous variation of use requests were withdrawn by the petitioner in 2000 and 2001. This case was filed on February 22, 2017. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character are as follows. To the north is commercial B1, to the south, commercial B1, to the east is residential B1 and R2, and to the west is residential B1. Applicable regulations include Section 47-6.1, R2 permitted principal uses, 47-9.4, yard and lot requirements, and 47-17.1, Part 5, general regulations. Comments from other city departments. There was a community design review board meeting, May 4th, 2017. There was no discussion. It's my understanding there was no discussion, and minutes of that meeting are available. The 7-unit apartment building is a brick building that has 3.5 floors. There are 2 units on levels 2 through 4 and 1 unit in the lower level. The 1-bedroom units are identical and include a kitchen, dining room, living room, and 1 bathroom. The single-family frame house has 3 bedrooms. It includes a kitchen, living room, dining room, and 2 bathrooms. It was converted back to single-family by the petitioner from a 2-unit use at the request of the city around 1999. Adequate off-street parking is available within the rear parking lot for 13 vehicles. 209 North Center Street has been on the city's neighborhood services inspection program for quite some time and has recently received 4-year certificates under the existing petitioners. 211 North Center Street has not been on the inspection program since 2011, but recently was added back on. It was recently inspected with only a few minor violations being noted, and there is a list attached to your report. A reinspection of the property is scheduled for May 5th after the writing of this staff report. A 4-year rental inspection certificate would be granted pending the variation of use and approval by the City Council. And if there is a desire by the zoning board to approve the variation of use and the variations, the following conditions would be included. that any existing violations noted from the recent neighborhood services inspection be repaired prior to city council action, that the property not be expanded in the future, that off-street parking would remain in the future, or remains in the future, and should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and possible revocation of the variation of use. And that concludes staff's report.
How did this come to the city's attention?
Jim, do you want to weigh in on that? Jim Torrey, our planner, can address that.
So the new petitioner has, been on Neighborhood Services Rental Inspection Program, and, they brought it to their attention that they didn't have the correct zoning for the number of uses there. So in order to get their certificate now, Neighborhood Services wants to see this approved first.
How long have they owned this property?
Since I think around 1999. It got into a very bad state with a previous owner.
Was that
The way I
Bob?
understand it, he got up in age and couldn't take care of the property.
Was that Bob Rich that owned it before?
It might have been, not positive, but sounds like a familiar name. And so it got into a bad state with him. Sue Reynolds and her sister got the property, started bringing it back to its, updated, livable situation. They even brought down what was a 2-unit in that house to a single family at the request of Neighborhood Services. But the old owner lost the zoning, in order to try and get the old owner to come into compliance with code. They reclassified his property to single family. Doesn't really make sense, but
Yeah.
that's what I think the attempt was made. It's not obviously single family. There's a 7-unit on there, and now a single family home, and that's how they were built and built legally. But because they lost their zoning, they're in this situation.
So what happened at the May 5th reinspection?
She asked for that to be pushed back. She wants, the owner needed a little bit more time to bring all the buildings up to code. So she asked for them to push it back to the end of May. And then they feel with that extra time that, that would be enough time to get the violations completed, and then they'd be good for city council in June. But if
All
there's
those would have to be
anything,
met before they go to the council,
yeah,
right?
if there's anything lingering, we would hold them back.
But hasn't she had 20, did you say she bought it in 98? So we had 20 years to bring it into compliance? Isn't that what is that what I understood you to say?
And has been in compliance. The 7-unit was always on rental inspections. The single-family house hasn't been on rental inspections for a while. So, from my understanding, Neighborhood Services is pretty happy with how they keep their property.
Okay.
I don't get the impression that they're problem landlords in any way. They try to do their best. I wouldn't say that it's a perfect situation, but from my understanding, they've tried to comply with all the city code requirements.
Yeah, most of these problems seem to have come from just some probably non-compliant tenants that have caused them some problems, noises and stuff.
And she had a bad one there recently that she's recently evicted.
Evicted the problem makers?
And I understand that they have a pretty good record of evicting problem tenants too, where some linger longer. I don't get the impression that they have that problem.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
I do have a comment. I'm looking at this list of police calls. To me, this already is a public nuisance. I don't even understand why we're hearing it. We have 2 pages, and they're over a year. I mean, if she's owned it for 20 years, and it was one tenant, that tenant should have been long gone. I'm not getting it. I don't get it. I think it is a public nuisance right now.
Has it
That's my
ever been
opinion.
declared a public nuisance?
I don't know if they did with the previous owner, but not with them.
Okay.
No. She said this problem tenant would have parties, and the other tenants were afraid of them. But it was, so they wouldn't want to necessarily report on them. I think it got to the.
Well, apparently
police
somebody
department.
did, because there's a lot of police calls here, so apparently somebody was calling in, and some of the neighbors must have been disturbed.
One thing I would add, Mr. Chair, if I could, is since the applicant or a representative of the applicant is not here, be at your discretion to table this, to hear from them directly to address
That's at
any
the
of the
board's
concerns.
discretion. Does someone want to make a motion?
Yes, I'll move to table. At the next meeting, I'd also like a Joliet policeman here to explain all these calls, along with the owner.
No discussion anymore. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table. Call the roll.
Ms. Powers?
I'll vote aye with the conditions that Mr. Graham stated.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Ms. Darley?
Aye.
Mr. Ferguson?
Aye.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. I think. Okay, petition 2017-30, Michael Kraus.
Do you have that report? I think. Let me see. Oh, I got it. Thanks. This is petition 2017-30. Applicant is Michael Kraus. Owner is also Michael Kraus. Location is 1907 Larkspur Drive. This request is for the sum of side yards for an R2 single-family residential zoning district to be reduced from 20 feet to 16 feet in order to construct a second-floor addition. The lot is 70 feet by 128 feet deep, 8,960 total square feet. It contains a split-level single-family home, which is built in 1996. The property is zoned R2 single-family residential, and this petition was filed April 10th of 2017. Surrounding zoning in all directions of the site is R2 single-family residential. Applicable regulations, 47-6.4 yard and lot requirements. The Community Design Review Board did meet at its monthly meeting May 4th. There were no comments made concerning this request. The requested variation would allow the petitioner to construct a 27-foot by 30-foot second-floor addition on the northern single-story portion of the split-level residence. The footprint of the addition will match the side and rear faces of the existing house and will have a 5-foot overhang on the front face with support posts underneath. The addition will increase the number of stories from 1.5 to 2, which per the zoning ordinance causes the required sum of the side yards to increase from a minimum of 15 feet to 20 feet. The sum of the side yards on the property will remain at the existing 16-foot. The side yard on the north where the addition is located will remain at 8 feet, which complies with the minimum side yard setback requirement. The addition will be constructed with vinyl siding and shingles to match the existing house, and a plat of survey and elevation drawings are attached. Staff does not recommend any conditions. Basically, this is a request to follow the existing walls of the existing house.
You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
I do.
Name and address, please.
Michael Kraus, 1907 Larkspur Drive, Enfield.
You going to be doing the work yourself?
Yes, sir, and a couple buddies of mine.
You do it
know
as
me
well
some
as you
favors.
did these signs?
I'm a pretty handy man.
You've already given evidence of your abilities here. I was very impressed. Any other comments you'd like to make, sir?
No, I have no other ones. My
Okay.
family, the reason why I'm doing it, because my kids are having babies, and I need more room. Can't afford to move.
And we like our house.
We like the house, we like the subdivision. I mean, most subdivisions are, $85 a month, maintenance fees. Mine's $150 for the year. Can't beat that.
Okay, any questions by the board?
Yeah, Mr. Kraus, has anyone else put an addition like this on their home in your neighborhood?
Not
Think of?
that I know of, no.
You'll be the groundbreaker, okay.
Yeah, I'll bet you after I do it, everyone that's got the same house I do is gonna wanna do it.
Any other comments? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Ms. Darley?
Aye.
Mr. Ferguson?
Aye.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help earlier. Under old business, 2017-17, Rosalinda Casas.
I have that report. I didn't get that report.
Mr. Chair, petition number 2017-17 is a request for a special use permit to allow a resale store for general household goods located at 360 West Jefferson Street. As you may recall, this case was heard at your last meeting and was tabled. The petitioners met with St. John's Neighborhood Association at their meeting on April 20th to discuss the proposal, and the Neighborhood Association is in full support of the proposal at this time. It's up to you, Mr. Chair, if you'd like me to summarize the rest of the report or just let the applicants speak at this point.
We didn't have a full board last time. Does anybody on the board want to hear the full?
I've read it.
You all set? Yeah, let's just go ahead and proceed.
Okay. You would turn it over to the applicants.
Any comments you'd like to make on behalf of your petition?
Things that were placed on it, that you're aware of them. Okay.
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay.
All set?
And the leaders of St. John's are here. I was wondering if they had any comments.
I asked if anyone wanted to, so.
All right, thank you.
Looks like you're being punished back there.
Or hiding.
Timeout, Chair.
Hiding.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Darley?
Aye.
Mr. Ferguson?
Aye.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. I got some comment. That taco stand, I stop in there to eat out, and their stuff's pretty good. I'm not giving it a commercial. But, you know, when it rains, there's so damn much dust on there to that outfit that's next door to them. I mean, the place is a mess. And then when it's dry, there's dust and everything else. And there's only about 6 feet of blacktopping around that. Is that the extent of their property, or why isn't that paved? Because that was a condition that it be paved.
Yeah, I think they paved everything that they own. I could double check that. Everything else is like right away, Center Street.
Jim, I
right
can't
away.
hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes, Jim, if you want to use the microphone to be easier.
Yeah, everything else is right away. There's Center Street,
There was
McDonough
a street
or-
at one time, wasn't it? Because there were
Center
apartments
Street.
back there and
Yeah,
everything else. There was
where that old
a three-story
house
house there,
was.
and
And
is
we-
that still a dedicated street?
portion of it, I think, to the barricades down there. You know,
Yeah, because I mean, that place is a mess. They got these big slabs of concrete
we
and all this
tried to
refuse
warn
sitting
them
there.
that you are going down into a dust bowl down there, and they were okay
So
with
is
it.
there anything that can be done about
No,
paving that?
that's heavy industrial down there, so, yeah.
And that street is what, it's been undedicated, or, because that's where the trucks go in and out, right, on what used to be the street?
Yeah, I haven't looked to see if they're going in on
Just check
Center
it out and
Street
see
now.
what the status of that is.
Yeah,
Because I mean, that's a nice
think
little
they
place they've
finally
got
bought
there,
out
and with all
that,
that dirt and dust flowing
that
around,
old house there.
it's hurting their business,
we
really.
warned them. I mean, but I think they
Yeah,
get
just
business from those.
See if you can find out anything about it, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
I have something also, Mr. Hennessy. Last October, we approved an amendment to a special use permit at 251 Republic, and I believe one of the conditions was, and I have it written here on this, that I should check for the trees in the spring, is that there had to be a landscape buffer. The wrought iron fence is up in front of that property, but the frontage part, or, yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the frontage, parkway, like the parkway part. I was told that it was up to the business to plant that, not the city. And Mr. Hanson at the time said, oh, don't worry, we'll have trees in the spring. And it's kind of, it's not nice, it's kind of concrete. So if you could check.
Yeah, we will follow up on that.
Thank
If
you.
that was made as a condition, they
Yes.
should be abiding by it.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor of approving the minutes of last meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. All those in favor of adjournment, so signify.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.